Everyone in today's video, and today we'll follow the last video and we'll focus on the next two different types of the angles. So let's start. Here we have two parallel lines, okay, and you know they're parallel because you have arrows in here, and that's the symbol. And these two types of the angles work only when we have parallel lines. It doesn't work when you have two random lines, okay? So you need to bear it in mind, always parallel lines. And then we have another line here. This line is going this way, but it might be this way, that way, and this line is called transversal line, okay? So this is a line that intersects two or more lines. Okay, so let's take it down. And from this diagram you can see that transversal makes a lot of angles on the lines, okay? And here you have X shape, so you can spot vertically opposite angles, and we did them yesterday. And we can spot another angle. So let's say we look at Z shape this time, and we look at this angle and this angle, okay? And these angles are exactly the same, and they are called alternate angles, okay? So here we go, the Z shape, okay? Or we can have another Z shape in here, okay? And this angle is exactly the same as this one, and they're also alternate angles, okay? So we have 1, 2, and then 3 and 4, okay? So there you go, the definition of the alternate angles. So these are the angles, the pair of angles on opposite sides of the transversal, okay, line, but between the two parallel lines. And then we have the next term, term number 3. We won't follow them in order, okay? So this one we have term number 3, and it says if a transversal makes equal alternate angles on two lines, then the lines are parallel. Okay, so take it down into your copy, please. And here we have the same two parallel lines and transversal line which goes through, okay, which goes across. And now let's look at another pair of angles. Let's say this angle and this angle. So this time they're on the same side of the transversal. As you can see, this angle is exactly the same as this angle. So let's say that's number 1 and number 1, and they're exactly the same. Here, this angle and this angle, they are exactly the same, so name it 2. Then let's find another pairs. So this angle number 3 is exactly the same as this one. And this angle, number 4, is exactly the same as this number 4. And these pairs are called corresponding angles. Okay, so they are on the same side of the transversal line. And they might be below or above the parallel lines. Okay? Let's start with example number 1. So we have lots of angles in here, and we need to fill in the table. And the table says pairs of corresponding angles in here. So we need to find them. Pairs of alternate angles and pairs of vertically opposite angles. Okay, so we can just write down corresponding angles is like letter F. Then alternate angles, Z. And vertically opposite angles, X. Let's start with the first one. So whenever we can see letter F, we can write down pairs of corresponding angles. So let's say we have F in here. So 4 and 2, and this is one pair. We have angle 4 and angle 2. The next one, the other way, 1 and 5, angle 1 and angle 5. And of course we have angle 7 and 8, angle 6 and 3. Okay. Next one, pairs of alternate angles. So whenever we see Z and these angles are inside or between the two lines, so they have to be in here. So Z is in here. We have 5 and 8, and the other way 2 and 3. So 5, 8, 5 and 8, and 2 and 3, 2 and 3. And the last one, vertically opposite angles, where we have X. Okay, so X in here, we have 1 and 8, 3 and 4, and here 6, 2, 5, 7. But we'll write down just 2 pairs. So let's say 1 and 8, angle 1 and angle 8, and then let's say 5 and 7 or 2 and 6, doesn't matter, and angle 6. Okay, so first what you need to do, you need to just recognize the angles and you need to name them. Okay. And the next activity you should be able to do after this video is finding the measurements, okay? So we have angle A, B, C, D, and so on. And we have just one angle marked in here. And we need to find all of them, okay? Using not protractor, but we need to use what we know, okay? The properties of the angles. So if this one is 50, this one has to be 50 as well, because they vertically opposite angles. So A is 50 as well. So you need to give me explanation why this angle is 50, okay? So we have 50 degrees in here. Okay, this one is done. Now, how to find B? As we know, this is the straight angle, and the straight angle is 180. So if we take 50 from 180, we'll get 130. So B is 130. Okay, and the same, what C is? We know B, what C is, and the same. They vertically opposite and they have exactly the same size. Okay, so we have C, and C is 130 as well. Now, how to find D, E, F, and G? And also we have a few ways to solve it. So we can look at the angles in here. We know they are corresponding angles. So if this one is 50, G is exactly 50. If B is 130, this is 130 as well. A and E are the same, C and F are the same, because they are corresponding angles. You can also use alternate angles. So if C is 130, this is 130. If you know what A is, G is exactly the same. So let's write it down. D, the same as B, 130 degrees. F, exactly the same as C, or you can say D and F are exactly the same because they vertically opposite. Okay, so F 130, and then E the same as A is 50, and G exactly the same as E, or exactly the same as 50. So there are lots of ways to find the answer in here. You just need to give me explanation. Why do you think is this measurements, okay? So summarizing, you need to know what are alternate angles, corresponding angles. You need to be able to find them, okay? And when we have one angle given, we will be able to find another angles. And also theorem 3 and theorem 5. So for homework, try to do learning check. So find the measure of angles 1 and 2. Okay, so it should be easy. If you know this one, you know this one as well. You can find this one. You can use another property in here. So first of all, make sure you know all three types of the angles. You know where to find them, how to find them, and then it's really, really easy to get the measurements.